What if the destiny of the Leafs was being decided in silence? What if, while the city dreams of the Stanley Cup, two key pieces of the roster were just steps away from the exit door? John Tavares and Matthew Knies are not just players. They are symbols of two distinct generations of hope. One is the captain who returned home. The other, the prospect who has barely begun to write his story. And now, with less than 10 days left before the free agency market opens, both remain far from a new contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is not a rumor, it's a fact. According to Pierre LeBrun, a renowned insider from The Athletic, Tavares and the Leafs management have not yet managed to close the gap in their contract renewal talks. They're negotiating, yes, but the phrase LeBrun uses is clear and concerning. The risks here are high. You have a 34-year-old player who doesn't want to leave home, and a team that can't afford to lose a second-line center who just scored 38 goals and 74 points. This is a dilemma Toronto faces. Tavares wants to stay. He has said this countless times. He was born here. He came home in 2018 with a mission to be the link between young talent and the championship that has not come since 1967. But in professional hockey, heart has a price, and time has a limit. With free agency approaching, every day without a deal makes the situation riskier. If they don't close with Tavares by July 1st, the Leafs will have to compete with 31 other franchises for a player who, ironically, never wanted to leave Toronto. And it's not just Tavares. Matthew Knies, the franchise's young prospect, is also far from a new contract. This information was published by Nick Alberga from the Leafs Nation, and it hit like a bomb behind the scenes of the team. Knies represents the future, the raw talent Toronto wants to develop at home. But negotiations have stalled, and if management doesn't act quickly, the player could become the target of an offer sheet, a proposal from another team that the Leafs would have to match or lose the athlete. Behind Tavares, there are even more nuances. According to analyst Nick Kypreos from Sportsnet, the fair value for the veteran could be close to what Matt Duchene received in Dallas, for $0.5 million per year. But Kypreos himself raises a critical point. Tavares is an excellent regular season player, but he's never been known for deciding playoff games. Like Duchene, he can get you there, but he's not the guy who changed the game in the decisive series. It's hard to hear that about a captain, but it's a reality that Leafs management seems to be dealing with, trying to balance gratitude, history, and results. Meanwhile, another heavyweight insider, Elliot Friedman, added fuel to the fire. According to him, Tavares could receive an offer similar to Brock Nelson's, $7.5 million per year. Now that he's close to hitting the market, the alternative Toronto is considering lengthening the contract duration to reduce the annual salary, a strategy similar to the one recently used in the deal with Chris Tanev. But even that solution requires both sides to give in, and so far, that hasn't happened. It's as if the team is facing a mirror. It sees its past with Tavares. It sees its future with Knies. And it can't reach out to hold on to either one. The fan, as always, watches with heart in hand. Remembers 2018, when Tavares arrived as a savior. Remembers Knies' debut, the energy he brought to the younger lines, and now faces a dilemma that could reshape the team. Because if Tavares leaves, the team loses leadership, stability, legacy. If Knies leaves, it loses renewal, youth, future. And if both leave, maybe the cycle restarts. From zero, again, what will Toronto do? The truth is time is running out. And this time, it's not about the game. It's about negotiating with the clock. And that clock doesn't stop. If you root for the Leafs, feel this pit in your stomach, and still believe this core can work, leave your like now. Comment below. Would you renew with Tavares for $4.5 million? Or would you let him test the market? And Knies? Is it worth risking losing the future over money? The clock doesn't stop for the Toronto Maple Leafs. While contract negotiations with John Tavares and Matthew Knies seem to have stalled, and fans anxiously await the team's immediate future, a new possibility is beginning to take shape on the horizon. One that could change a franchise's destiny forever. We're talking about Connor McDavid, the biggest superstar in today's NHL. A player who doesn't just define greatness, he redefines it. And perhaps he's a missing piece that could finally lead the Leafs to end their championship drought. The 2026 free agency period is being pointed to by insiders as the moment McDavid could become an unrestricted free agent. And speculation is already circulating in the media and betting markets. According to Bet Canada, the Edmonton Oilers are still the overwhelming favorite to keep their franchise player. The odds give them a 67.7% chance of re-signing the man they introduced to the world. It's no surprise. McDavid leads the league with eye-popping stats, including 5 consecutive seasons with more than 70 assists and 8 100-point seasons in the last 9 years. But Toronto emerges as a top threat outside Edmonton. The home of the Maple Leafs shows odds of plus 1,250, roughly a 7.4% chance, to land the superstar in 2026. That position on the list isn't just a number. It reflects the potential of the franchise, not only in financial terms, but in ambition and long-term vision. The Leafs are projected to have massive cap space in the 2026 offseason, about $43.7 million available, giving them nearly unmatched flexibility to put together an irresistible offer for McDavid. And beyond the numbers, there's something deeper. McDavid is a son of the city. That emotional connection between the player and Toronto could be a decisive factor. The chance to come home and carry the weight of leading his hometown team to ultimate glory. Other franchises appear on the list too, like the New York Rangers, Los Angeles Kings, and Vegas Golden Knights. But none of them combine sentimental appeal and financial power the way Toronto could. What does this mean for the Leafs? It means that despite the current challenges, stalled talks with Tavares, the risk of losing Knies, a tight salary cap, and present-day uncertainty, the future holds a promise. But that promise won't come like magic. If Toronto truly wants to pursue and land McDavid in 2026, the team has to start preparing now. They need to retain their current stars, build a strong core, and maintain the identity that makes this fan base believe. Because if they lose Tavares and Knies now, they might lose the foundation McDavid will be stepping into, and that could make the dream much harder to achieve. This is about long-term strategy, where every decision today could directly impact the fate of a generation. Toronto is standing at a crossroads between an unstable present and a future that could be extraordinary. And the question for fans is clear. Do you believe the Leafs can keep their captain and rising stars to build a team worthy of welcoming and supporting McDavid? Or do you think the current cycle is nearing its end, and the next chapter will begin with a rebuild designed to make room for the superstar? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This saga is far from over, and you'll want to be here for every step of the journey. Another name surfacing on the Leafs' radar is Mika Zibanejad, the center for the New York Rangers, who's gaining traction behind the scenes as a potential solution. Zibanejad is no ordinary player. He brings a consistent track record playoff experience and the ability to contribute in key moments. While his 2023-24 season was underwhelming, with 20 goals and 42 assists, the overall performance of the Rangers dipped, and it's unfair to pin the blame solely on him. In fact, when you compare Zibanejad's last 4 seasons to John Tavares's, the numbers are strikingly similar. Zibanejad recorded 114 goals and 192 assists, totaling 306 points. Tavares scored 130 goals and 165 assists, for a total of 295 points. In the playoffs, Zibanejad holds a clear edge, with 44 points compared to Tavares' 23 over the same stretch. That alone shows Zibanejad can bring value, especially in the postseason, where Toronto has been desperate to improve. But this isn't just a numbers game. Age and cost weigh heavily in this equation. Zibanejad is 32, 2 years younger than Tavares, and his contract could reach up to $8.5 million per year, with a projected length of 4 years. That's a hefty investment for a player some believe is already declining, and if he can't maintain his level, he could quickly become a financial burden on the franchise. And the concerns don't stop there. Culturally, Zibanejad also raises questions, much like William Nylander, another player criticized for lacking intensity in key moments. Zibanejad has faced scrutiny for skipping shifts and not showing the grit or courage needed to shine in the playoffs. And that's precisely the kind of trait the Leafs are desperately seeking. On the other hand, the Swedish forward does have qualities that could prove valuable in Toronto. He can contribute on the penalty kill, a growing need with Mitch Marner likely on the way out, and his ability to slot in as a second or a third line center could give the team much needed depth and balance. If the Leafs can pull off a trade with the Rangers, they might also negotiate a financial discount, taking on only part of Zibanejad's salary, easing the pressure on their cap situation. The Rangers, for their part, are seeking change. After trading Chris Kreider, the franchise is aiming for a cultural reset, which could make a deal beneficial for both sides. But the Leafs' options are limited. Morgan Really, a crucial piece of the puzzle, has a no-movement clause that complicates any trade involving him. The free agent market is thin, a shallow pool of talent, which forces a team to consider bold and risky alternatives. And so, Toronto finds itself at a crossroads. Do they take the gamble on Zibanejad, with all the risk that entails, or pursue other strategies that might not deliver the immediate impact the team craves? The bet on Zibanejad could finally give the Leafs a stronger center rotation, something they've lacked for years. But will that be enough to push them past the early rounds of the playoffs? That question lingers among the fans in the front office and across the NHL rumor mill. And here's the question for you, Leafs Nation. Do you believe Mika Zibanejad is the upgrade Toronto needs to make a decisive leap forward? Or is investing heavily in a player showing potential signs of decline, yet another risk the franchise simply can't afford? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters in this passionate community that lives and breathes Toronto Maple Leafs hockey. Don't forget to like the video, share it with other fans, and subscribe to the channel to follow every move in this pivotal season. Because in the end, this offseason might be the turning point. The line between the team that always dreamed and the team that finally conquers. And this story, my friend, is just getting started.